Warning, the topics discussed in today's events are the perspectives and opinions of the Ladies of Herview. Viewer discretion is advised.
Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Herview, What Women Really Think. It's your girl, Coach Tay, the media maven.
I'm Shawnee, your dating coach and self-love enthusiast.
I'm Ernie, the military wife coach.
I'm Adrian, your favorite mental health counselor, and today we will be talking about self-awareness, guys. So we have a special guest today, and we're going to bring her in right now.
Hi.
Hello, ladies. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to Herview.
Thanks for having me.
Would you like to introduce yourself for everyone watching right now?
Sure. My name is Mima. Well, Jemima, but my Instagram name is Mima Rice. Pretty much, I wrote an ebook, and it's about self-love and self-confidence, and that's what we're going to discuss today.
Yes, I'm so excited. I love this topic. It's like one of my favorites. I start going hard because I just be reflecting on stuff.
Good. Thank you.
To like jump in.
We all can relate. We all can relate. Yeah.
Well, to kick this night off, I'm going to ask you my first question, which is, what was the catalyst that caused you to write this ebook, and what was your target audience?
Here's what it is. So when I first wrote this ebook, I journal a lot. So what I was doing is I was pretty much like writing things down in my diary that I go through. So I went through a phase of basically writing down things that have worked for me and things that haven't. And that's why some of the questions that you see in the book, they are things that I wrote. And then when I got to the how and why part of the book, I realized I'm like, this can be really helpful to, other people, because it helped me. Right. So I'm like, maybe I should turn this into an ebook. So I'm not even going to sit here and lie and say I had a whole plan. This is what I'm going to do. That's not how it happened. It's literally it's something I did within weeks. So, literally, I did it within weeks, and I just felt like it was genuine. It was really from my heart, because it was some of my experiences and other things that I mixed with it that I know can also help. And I figured, why not write it? We all can relate to me. Yeah. So, yeah. Right. And my target audience really, I think, my target audience is really just anyone who's willing to change. I don't want to put an age on it, because I have conversations with different people, different ages and stuff. And it really doesn't start from 17 to 30. It's just, I speak to women who are in their 50s, and you can kind of see that they have certain issues going on with them. And it stems from their background and upbringing and stuff like that, past relationships. So it's really, my target audience is really for anyone that reads it that wants to change and make a difference either in their lives or in someone else's lives. So, yeah.
Wow. I think it's dope that you said that it's pretty much for anybody, because like you said, it's self-awareness. So it's about ourselves. So my question would be, how can one really analyze and figure out basically if they're the problem versus if someone else is the problem? Because I know sometimes when we sit down and we think about things, we're like, oh no, she was wrong, not me. But you really have to have that in you to be like, let me look at everything. Right. Sometimes I'm the problem too, So how do you think, or what are some ways that people could go about analyzing situations to determine if it's them versus if it's someone else?
Yeah, this has a lot to do with pride and ego. And I would say to really, it sounds weird, but write things down. We have to get in the habit of writing things down. I feel like if you can't keep it real with yourself, literally keep it real with yourself, how are you going to change anything?
Right.
You got to take away self. You got to take away pride. If we say, oh, no one's perfect, we're so quick to tell people, well, no one's perfect when they bring up something to us, right? So how about you look at it from the other standpoint? You're not perfect either. So you got to ask yourself, could I have said this differently? Could I have done this differently? And if you can't sit down by yourself, alone, no one's watching you, no one's sitting next to you, coaching you through it. If you can't sit there and say I was wrong, then I don't know. You know, I don't know how else you could do it, but I would say to write things down. I write things down a lot. Like I'm good at, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or I could have said. This is how I see it. I could sit here and say something, let's say about your hair. I'm like, oh, I don't like your hair, and you come out and you say something about my kid.
Mm.
You know, it's the thing about how people go overboard. Like, yeah, there's a reaction to every action, but sometimes we go overboard. And maybe you shouldn't have said something about my kid because I mentioned your hair. You get what I'm saying? It's like you got to be able to sit down and be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said this. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. And maybe you're not ready to sit with that person and say it, but you got to say it to yourself. That's the only way you're going to change anything. And you got to figure out, okay, so after I realize I'm wrong, am I going to apologize? Am I going to, you know, and that's where it comes to where like, well, I don't care. You know, it's like, yeah, I was wrong, but I don't care. There is that too. There is that part of it. Like, I know I was wrong, but I'm not going to say sorry. And then there's the part where it's like, okay, I was wrong and I should really apologize. And, you know, it's a lot of times it's the pride and ego thing. And it's like, if I say I'm wrong, then I look weak and soft and this and that. And it's not worth it half of the time. So,
Yeah, I think like a lot of times like I've learned as I've gotten older that I need to learn how to apologize quicker for me. Because sometimes I'm very blunt and the way I intended things to come out, sometimes that's not how people receive it. So I'll like think about the reaction that I got and I was like, maybe let me reach out and whatever. But that's like being self-aware. It's like being in school, right? Get like 100 on your test and you're like, look what I got, right? You get a 55 on your test and it's look what she gave me. You know, like so I agree about the taking responsibility and having ownership for your own actions. But you know, in your book you talk about how we distance ourselves from people who hurt us, right? So do you have any kind of strategies for like negative personality traits that we have for ourselves that we can distance ourselves from?
I would say again, it's a matter of, for me, it's a matter of like writing things down, realizing that, okay, this is what's wrong with me and what am I going to do to change it for this person and I to get along, or maybe not. Sometimes, depending on what it is, you don't care to get along or like be liked or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's a matter of figuring out the problem. What is it that, because some of us really do think there's nothing wrong with us. It's everybody else and it's never us, you know? It's a matter of finding out like what's wrong with me and what can I do to change it and fix it. And do I care to, you know? And for me, writing it down is always the way to go. That's what I do. I write things down and I figure it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then
keep writing.
Keep writing, basically. But
well, I like how you said that, you know, if you write it down, are we going to be willing to change it, right? And then how much control we have over the ability to be willing to change it. And so in your book, you discuss that society is known for making unrealistic standards of beauty. What is your definition of beauty?
As cliche as it's going to sound, and I think you all probably know the answer, but I think beauty is inward. If it wasn't, then we wouldn't see so many beautiful women altering themselves and hurting themselves. You know, when you're looking at this person, you're like, oh my God, she's pretty and this and that. And in her head, she's not. So that's why it's all a mental thing. It's all about how you feel. And for me, I've seen beautiful people miss out on an opportunity because of their attitude or their behaviors. And I've seen people that I guess you would consider not so, you know, attractive, get all the money or all the opportunities. And it really has to do with your inward actions and feelings and how you go about things, how you treat people. I think that's what matters the most. And to me, that's really what beauty is. Yes, of course, we have the, standard face, whatever, how it should look in your body, blah, blah, blah. But to me, I feel like the ultimate goal is to have inner beauty. And without that, like, yeah, you can get kind of far with your body and your face, I guess. But like something meaningful with substance, you're going to have to fix yourself inwardly and fix your heart. That's the best way I can put it.
I agree.
So like you had kind of touched on it while you were answering this question about like social media kind of playing like a big role in this. And throughout your book, we touch on that, but we also, for me, I would like to know, to the younger generation who have conversations with you or who read your book, what would be the advice for them to look at a standard of beauty, or what would be their standard of beauty? Because social media is rough. It's very brutal. And as adults, I think that we're able to handle it a little better. But some of us, right? Some of us. But I think for the younger generation who want to fit in, who want to, they got their lips have to be filled, or their butt has to be this certain. What would be your advice to them? Like, what would you say if the young girls come to you?
I feel like when it gets to the point where you have to look to social media for validation, I think it stems from something much deeper than, get off social media. Something happened at some point. Someone told you were ugly. Someone's making fun of your clothes. Like, something much deeper happened that made you feel that way. Right. And I'm speaking from experience. So my advice would be to keep positive people around you. And it's so hard to tell a teenager or even a young adult, like, change your environment and get better friends. Like, it's so hard to tell them. Which one of us were doing that at 17, 18, Well, I don't know. Right. But I would say, like, you'd have to realize that these people or these things are holding you down and you have to change it. Personally, I am 34 years old and I had to make a whole 360 and change my whole Instagram following. Like, I started by go my following. I'm following plant pages and positive pages, and I had to just let go of like certain things. Like, as much as I'm into fashion, like certain pages I had to get rid of. As much as I'm into, I'm trying not to listen to certain kinds of music anymore. But I had to stop following certain celebrities because it does something to your mind. Yeah. So as a teenager, it's hard to tell you like, you need to not follow this and blah, blah, blah. But that really does help. It influences you. We don't see it. Right. But it really does. Like, you're watching this thing all day, every day. It's on your TV screen. It's on your, it's in your phone. You go outside. It's there. It's at the store. It's everywhere. It can't not have an effect on you, So that's like telling people someone in the hood, like, guns and gangs and stuff like that, it doesn't have some kind of effect on how you view certain things. It's the same thing for social media. The number one thing you could do for yourself is realize that, okay, this thing is not good for me. What I'm watching is taking a toll on me, and I need to change my following, my friends, and my environment, like the people I speak to on a daily basis. At least one of these things have to be done. Maybe not all of them, because even as adults it's hard, but I would tell a young adult, like, at least take that one step to at least change the people you follow. The one thing that you see on social media that brings you down instantly and makes you start questioning yourself, get rid of it if you can. That's what I would say.
That's good.
That is.
Thank you.
So is your view today different than your upbringing? And if so, are you changing the way you raise your son to automatically think the way you've had to learn how to process things?
Yeah, I'm Haitian, and I grew up in a household where communication just wasn't a thing. You just got beat. Well, I never got beat, but everyone else did. I don't know why I didn't, but I did. But, we just
had no favorite was now,
right?
We had no sense of communication. There was no positive affirmation in my house. Like, I literally learned to love myself on my own as a grown woman, and I'm not talking about 22, 23. Like, I would say at some point in my 30s, I learned to love myself. So definitely, I'm constantly telling, and I'm so annoying at home, anywhere we're at. I am definitely always in his face and telling him how handsome he is and how smart he is, and I try not to bring him down when he does something he's not supposed to. Because as a parent, you forget that. I forget I was 13 sometimes. But I have to keep reminding myself and reminding him that he is important. He does matter. I let him talk. You don't speak back to me, but we have conversations and we communicate, because as an adult, I'm realizing that the fact that I didn't have these things, it kind of screwed me up as an adult. The fact that certain things you just weren't allowed to talk about.
Right.
And you take care of it with either anger or just being silent. And that's me. I'm either really angry or real silent. It just depends on which day you would get me at the time. I'm changing that, by the way. But I had to. I wrote a book about it. Yeah, positive affirmations and an open line of communication is really important, and that's what I do at home. Definitely.
Yeah, I love so much that you mentioned affirmations, because that is like huge. It's a huge tool to use when you are building up self-confidence. So can you give us an example of a great affirmation to start with? Because some people think it has to be this profound quote or whatever, and it's like sometimes it's something like really simple that you just tell yourself, a repetition.
Yep, and it goes a little something like this: I am beautiful. Like, it sounds cliche, but you really can go on someone's page or see something and you're like, oh, I wish I looked like that. You know how simple it was, so quick for you to look at someone else and wish you looked like them. Yeah. So you can tell yourself you're beautiful just as fast too. Yeah. And I don't know what kind of platform you girls have. I do watch you, but I don't know all your followers, of course. And I apologize in advance if I offend anyone by saying this, but I pray. And a lot of my affirmation comes from praying and, saying, I'm going to have this, I'm going to get that, I am this. You created me to be this person, and that's what I'm going to be. So, again, I apologize if I offend anyone, but I have to put it out there because that's what I truly do believe. It's the little, I am smart, I am beautiful, I am a businesswoman, I will graduate this year. It's the simple little things. I don't have anything profound. I don't. It's my book is as real as it gets. That's what you will get in a conversation with me. I didn't read anything. I didn't do any research. If I show you my journal, like literally, it's there. It's just edited to better language because I don't post like this in my journal. Sorry, but there's a lot of F-bombs and I gotta keep it professional and cute. Right. But yeah. So that's really what my affirmations are.
I'm glad you simplified that, because some people it seems like a task, and sometimes when it's made to be a task because you hear somebody else's and you're like, why don't mine sound like that? But people stop realizing that they're personal. So if you're like, I want to be so bad and bougie, and that's your affirmation, then be bad and bougie.
Do it.
Do it. As long as it doesn't send you to jail or kill you, go ahead, girl. Do it. No fraud, please.
Sometimes the path to jail might be the long way to the right place. I mean,
no.
There's some people that went to jail that wouldn't be here if they didn't.
Don't send your followers to jail. No, but I get what you're saying.
Right. She gets me.
I got you, girl. I got you.
Yeah, well, my favorite part of the ebook is when you talk about that superhero and it having to be within yourself and being, like you said, that affirmation. And when you said, oh, this may not be big, that is big for some people, because I know for myself, I compare myself to people, places, visions, any and everything. If that's somebody may have a different affirmation than me, and I'm like, oh, theirs is better. But how would I be able to even apply that, or why would I even want to make that comparison to say that? So the part where you talked about having a superhero in your life really resonated with me. But what is the biggest lesson that you want your audience to know?
That you are enough. Literally. You are enough. And when I say you are enough, I'm not saying to you are enough and you stay with a bad attitude or stay with, your bad habits. I'm saying you are enough where you are, but you gotta move forward. You gotta know what's wrong. Like, you can't tell yourself, I'm not worthy of anything. I'm not worthy to be better. You gotta tell yourself, I am enough, but I can move forward. And once you know that, you're basically saying that you love yourself. And because you love yourself, you're going to want to do better. Whatever it is that you want to do, and the thing about it is, this is not I think I said it in my book too. This isn't a thing about being complacent. Oh, I'm enough. I'm good where I'm at. I'm not. No, you got to move forward, but just know that you have to love yourself through it.
Right.
You can't sit here and bash yourself all day because someone said this and you don't have to believe what you hear or what you heard. And that's where we fall short because we have believed everything we've been told about ourselves. I know I have at some point. I'm learning to not care anymore and just, and if it is true, and sometimes whatever people tell you about yourself, sometimes it's true. It's just a tough pill to swallow. Like, oh, so you think I'm this and that. But if you do analyze yourself, that's where self-reflection comes in. If you do self-reflect and you realize, like, well, maybe he or she is right, then if you care enough, change it. If you don't, then say how you are. Who cares, I guess, But you are enough. Like, whatever you're hearing and seeing and whatever it is that's bringing you down, when you do self-reflect and you do realize that those things may be true, not just because you heard it, but because you sat down and you really analyzed yourself and you realize, like, okay, this could be right. This person may or not be hating, because we all think somebody's hating on us. Not all of us, but most of us do. And when you realize that, you move forward and you try to fix the problem. So yeah, you are enough and you are worthy of just about everything on the planet that you want. That's how
for me, I feel like I love that you said love yourself throughout the whole journey, because I think sometimes when people think of like this journey that is gonna be peaches and cream, and no, like once you really learn who you are, there's gonna be some things that you don't like about yourself, and you have to be able to sit in that. And it's hard. Like, it's not easy, especially like you said, if people are telling you things like, you're always angry, you're always this, you're always that, like you feel automatically attacked. But when you sit in it and you really think, you're like, oh shoot, I am this way, and I don't like that about me. So I have to figure out how I could move forward. So I think you saying like love yourself through the whole thing was just so perfect, because even though you may not like yourself or like who you were, it doesn't mean that you will never like who you are again. Like, you still come out on top, but it's going to take work.
Yes, it's going to take work, because we're talking years of bad habits and, toxic environments. So, yeah.
And I also think it's, I also think it's important, like, to love yourself through it, but also forgive yourself.
Yeah.
That is huge. I mean, like, a lot of times we're our own worst critics, and we will say the nastiest things to ourselves that we would never say to someone else. So, part of the healing should be like learning to forgive. Yes, other people. Yes, you all hear that. Forgive them so you can, it's for you.
For your own peace and mind. Yeah.
Okay. But like the relationship that you have with yourself, I think is like the most important outside of, your relationship with God or whoever people's higher power is or whatever. But I think forgiveness is also really huge.
Definitely. Not forgiving yourself is what makes you feel unworthy and not enough.
Right.
So you have to. That's a part of it. I should have put that in my book. Thanks, girl. Part 2. Part 2 coming. Yes. I should have had it in my book. Forgive yourself. Go ahead. That was a good one. But yeah, you're right. Definitely
I do think that it's important. Also, I don't want people to think, because we were talking about, or you were talking about a minute ago, about how when people say things about you, internalizing it. I think sometimes you also have to consider the source too, because there's people that really want to change you and not for your benefit, but for theirs. So we have to consider the source, and sometimes we have to remove people, because being self-aware is also knowing who you are, and that not allowing somebody who is trying to take from you to make you something different, water you down. And so it's like you have to really learn how to decipher, is this genuine? Is this something that's supposed to be helping me? Or is this somebody that just doesn't want me to say no to them?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree. And that's why I also said, when you do self-reflect and you realize, like, you feel like this person may be right or it may make sense, then you work on it. And if you don't, then you don't. Like you said, like, there are haters out there. Definitely. Yep.
Well, I think I speak for us all when I say it has been a pleasure talking to you today. I'm so glad that
my first five.
So now I just need you to tell everybody where to find you, what you're doing next, what's happening, where they can find your book, all that information.
Okay, so you can find my book. My Instagram handle is Mima Rice, MIMA .WRICESS. It's in the link in my bio, and there is a part 2 coming, and I am adding that part, Miss, and I will. You will get your credits. But there is a part 2 coming. I'm getting T-shirts and stuff like that done. There's other things I'm planning on doing, but I sometimes don't like to, put things out there until it's like settled, and So yeah, pretty much. I hope you all buy the book or heard this interview and got something out of it, and it helps you one way or the other. Share it with a friend, tell a friend. Either way, I just hope that whatever I got out of it, everyone else can, or at least some people, can. So, and thank you, ladies, for having me. This is my first 5, and I was so nervous, but it really wasn't that bad. But yeah, thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. And thanks for reading and advertising it. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Of course. All right.
All right. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Yes.
I love that.
Go follow her. Go follow her. After the live.
She has that good energy, right? Like,
oh man. Just feel good.
Right.
I feel like she came in and saged the room.
Right?
I feel like
Came on in,
right?
And her voice was and her voice was so angelic, like, just love yourself, be one with yourself. And it was like,
like a tape, right?
It was great.
Y'all know my mind different, because I was like, she can really cuss somebody out, because I could hear that voice on the other spectrum.
So elegant. Claire Huxtable read, right?
Hey, I like her voice has like flexibility, versatility. Like, yeah. Yes, girl. Yes.
Too funny. But I love how she everybody was bringing up like social media and how it actually affects, and it's not just children, like I was saying before, it's adults. Like recently I just watched this movie on Netflix. I don't know if you all seen it. It's called The Social Dilemma. And basically it's with all the former like CEOs, presidents, tech people of Facebook, Google, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, you name it, they were on it. And I just thought it was so interesting how one of the guys, he actually invented the like button. And we all know when that like button came in, right? It really changed the game. And his thing was, his intent for the like button was to encourage people and uplift them and make them feel good. But can we all agree how that like button is kind of not so much?
So it's not the way. Right? Johnny, now people looking for the unlike button or the dislike. I'm like, about that. Why? Just go to someone else's profile.
Trolls. I think we lose like a lot of hours and stuff in the day just being on. So you may go on social media for one particular thing. You're like, I'm gonna go because I want to find something or remember something I thought was funny. I want to send it to my friend. And then it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, you're scrolling and you still didn't send whatever it was you was gonna send to your friend. And now you're like, I don't know. I think with like especially the whole Black Lives Matter movement, how you had to just really step away from social media. So have you like taken breaks from social media, or I felt like, I'm just not going to go on today, or taking time out from it because it's been too much?
I mean, aside from TikTok, because I'm I'm a TikTok addict, but I've never done a TikTok, but I love watching it. I know, and I keep saying I'm gonna do them. Besides from that, I'm not like really big on social media, just because, as we know, I have like a grown child, and during his teen years, it was so toxic that I kind of trained us not to be. So like before, like building my platform or whatever, I rarely was on social media. Like I get on, check something, and people be like, "You didn't see my post, you didn't like," and I'm like, "Girl, I'm not on there." Like,
Right.
I'm holding my hand for that. But now I'm on TikTok, and I don't care what comes through on it.
TikTok is awesome.
I feel like
Wonderful.
Like what Ernie just said, I think that's so important that you did that, like with your family. Like, let's limit what we're taking in. And one thing that's happening right now is September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, right? Mm-hmm. And the part that social media plays in this is huge, right? So I'm happy that you have that with your family where you're like, no, we're not going to be all day long on there, because there are children that look to social media, like we said, for standards of beauty, or people are out validation, people out there bullying, cyberbullying them, telling them to kill themselves and stuff like this. So social media, I'm sure the intention was to be pure, but people took it and twisted it, and now it's this scary place. It's a really scary place. And if you have children, I don't have children myself, but just being in the mental health field, I just want to say, like, make sure you monitor what's happening with your children.
That was always my thing. The kids who are on like social media platforms, but they block their parents from that. Oh, you don't even have a phone now. Like, what do you mean I can't be on your? Nah, bro. Like, we can't. I'm all up in here. I need the password too, because I might want to log in.
Yeah, you can definitely have the password. Like, how old are they? And they got their own profile. And then you got to think about, all sorts of crazy stuff that we're not even going to get into today.
Who they idolize and what they're now posting, the pictures, especially young ladies, what they're now posting because of their idols. And I get it. Nobody's signed up to be role models, even though we're like, hey, this is your job now. Right. They didn't sign up for it. It is a parent's responsibility, but you have to think your child's impressionable. So if Kylie Jenner was in a bathing suit, she's going to want to be 12 and in a bathing suit. It's not Kylie's fault, but that's just kind of like now and then you open it up to grown people now having all this access to your children. It used to be you were scared for them to walk to school because, some creepy guy in a truck. The creepy guy don't have to get a truck anymore. He just has to get a profile.
Slide in the DM. That's it.
I spoke to my coworker this week, and if she's listening, I did not tell her that I was going to bring it up, but you guys definitely just made me think about how important technology is in social media. So as a teacher, each year we get the workshops and the paperwork and everything we have to fill out, and the policies and protocols that are, rightfully for teachers. And so just this past week, we had to sign our handbooks to say that we understand that we cannot take pictures of children and have them on our social media platforms, or they need to have that type of agreement if the parent is signing off for their child to have social media, it's for the school's purpose and not our teachers' personal purposes, right? And so I never really had an issue with it because I had in my personal contracts coaching dance. And I put that like in my social media platforms because I was not, privileged to be connected to the school in that way. But then the conversation this week shifted, and the teacher wanted to know that if vice versa, teachers are signing, or we're trying to make that two-way street that they can't also take pictures or record us teaching on Zoom now, right? Yeah. And so we talk about the intruders that come into Zoom and all of these different policies, and parents want to know all of this protection. But then my coworker was like, what about our protection? They could easily screen record. They could easily screenshot us, because next thing you know, virtual learning would be live on TV. But how did they get access to that recording? Right? How did they get a picture of the teacher? And that wasn't permission. So it really got me thinking, because I was just like, yeah, these kids know how to do this and screen, and then next thing you know, you can be on the news, and then that's not, what was the policy behind that?
Right.
So a lot of like the tech people were saying that their own children, and these are people who invented this stuff.
Yep.
Right.
They don't let them get on social media at all.
Oh.
And then there's some of them that say they can't get on until they're like in high school. Because like in middle school, you don't need a social media. You don't need to compare yourself to other people. You don't need to have access to that. And I think another thing that kind of drove it to like a negative place was money, right? Because now that these advertisers see how, you know, these platforms captured your attention, you're like kind of like a zombie. If you don't even notice it, you're just kind of like, and this is your motion the whole time, ha 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 ha, and then you just keep scrolling.
Yeah.
So they were saying that it's the advertising and just being money hungry that people were like, okay, now these ads got to pop up here. How can we sneak this ad in here? And how can we? So when it comes to the kids, I know YouTube changed their thing. Like if you post on YouTube, you legit have to go into your settings and let them know, is this appropriate for children or if it isn't? Because there's been a lot of people invading these platforms and doing this, like, you know, they're not good people, basically. Right. And they're saying these things to your kids or whatever. So yeah, those things need to be monitored. But I thought it was real interesting that the people who invented it, they don't even let their kids on there.
I think the best thing would be that your child just doesn't have it, like their children don't, because even with YouTube or Instagram, like you have to be 13 to make a profile. But let's be honest, kids are lying. I'm going to say that I'm 20, right? So unless you have their login, unless you have, you know, the passwords to everything, you really don't know what's happening. So if you're going to let them have it, listen, you can only use it in front of me or whatever. I don't know what type of, you know, parameters you're going to set up for your own children. But you just have to know that if you're going to allow them to be on there, that they're never completely safe. People can get into our bank accounts. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're never completely safe. So I just say, like, if they're, I don't even know what.
We also have to think about when it comes to kids. We have to think about the bigger picture. They're adolescent minds. So when they're standing out in front of your house and they're taking pictures in front of your house, it's giving them part of your address.
Absolutely.
It's safety, because here's the thing. Yes, you have a 12-year-old and she has no features whatsoever. But there's a mind out there that thinks she's just
the most beautiful girl in the world.
She's everything. And he'll sit outside your house and you have no idea because you don't know this person. This person could come from states over. Right. Because your child's page ain't private. Your child is friends with somebody else. So even if your child's page is private, they may have let friends of friends see their pages. You never know. Now we have no idea where our attacks are coming from. Like, to prove that point to my son, years back, I changed my profile picture and my name. And so I told him, I said, do you see my profile picture? Do you see my name? I turned it to this guy. He was like a cop somewhere. And I snatched his picture and put it up as my profile and changed my name. I said, you're talking to these people you've never seen because they say they go to your school or they go to another school. And it's me. I said, am I this guy? I'm like, I can go talk to all his friends because they'll just think, oh, he created another page or whatever.
Right.
I'm saying that I'm a 21-year-old somebody, and I'm not. Like, kids don't think these things could happen. I don't care how much you watch How to Catch a Predator, because I even did that. We went through a whole series of I'm like, look, kids don't want to hear that. Like, as parents, we got to stop being punks. Like, it is or it ain't. This is what goes on in this house. And if you break that rule, bada, 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 whatever your bada, bada, bada is, bada, bada, bada.
I agree with you, but I also think, like, the parents also have to take that responsibility, because how many times do you see parents say, okay, do this dance, do this, and the kid is looking like in the video like, oh God, do we have to do this like right now? Like, come on. And the parents kind of push it, or they're doing some kind of punishment, right? And they use social media to embarrass the child, and they think that's teaching them a lesson, when really inside you're like hurting their self-esteem, something horrible, to the point where they may want to commit suicide because you've embarrassed them so bad they don't want to go to school and face whatever they're going to face that their friends saw you do to them on social media.
not knowing that the outcry was because they were already getting bullied at school because of something. Now you've given the bully more ammo, and now the bully's in the inbox like, see, your mom says you should kill yourself.
Right.
Like, we have to be more in tune and stop. We have to stop saying, well, when I was coming up, or you kids ain't like, well, they're not like us. And if we know this, then we have to change our parenting. It's funny what you said, though, the whole do this dance. Because remember, that used to be in our living rooms when our mamas and daddy's friends came over. It's like, come do the MC Hammer, baby. My baby can MC Hammer. But it was just for the group of people that were selected to be safely in your home, hopefully. Now, as parents, we got little baby that's a 2-year-old, and she's hitting the wall and she nay-naying and she's
twerking.
Right.
The twerk.
No shirt on and a diaper.
Like, no. I don't know what. But you know what, too, about social media? I think we also became expectant of certain things, right? Oh, you know, Beyonce had her baby. Why she not
because it's none of your business.
And we're talking about it right now, right? Like, she's protecting the privacy of her children and of her home, but we feel entitled because social media is here and she could post everything else. Why you not posting Rumi and Sir? And it's like, who do we think we are?
To me, it's like, it's the same reason her and Jay ain't dropped a sex tape, because that ain't none of our business. It's the reason why we don't see what they're eating on date nights.
Right.
Like, there are stars that will give you that. Go to their pages. Go to their pages and see what they're doing. But Respect doesn't want that.
You do have those couples that put all their business out on social media, right? They talk about the good times. They talk about when they arguing with each other, whatever, and then they go ghost. And you're like, well, what happened?
Well, that level of, yes, that's there because this is the relationship you started with us.
Right.
But there's certain people that have never had that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why do you have the right to go through your embarrassments, your man cheating, your chick cheating, you can't pay your car note, your eviction in private, but somebody else got to tell you upset? Forget that B. I ain't gonna be a B no more. I don't even know what buzz sound like. Like,
that's the first comment. Y'all need to mind your business. Well, if you stop posting, we would.
Yeah. And that's funny because people go down hard, right? Like, they'll post the hospital band and be like, I'm in the hospital, and we'll be like, yo, what happened? DM me. No, sir. Like, tell me here. We all want to know what happened. I'm not DMing you. Tell me now. Like, I just don't understand.
Like, the post should be titled, had bronchitis, had to go to the hospital, pray for me.
Right.
Like,
let's not here to begin with.
Yeah. With the IV, and they're like, okay, so I've been here for 3 days, like, for part 2. Like, what? Part 2?
I get so upset when I see I get so upset when I see celebrities do interviews, and the first thing they say is like, why is everybody in my business? I'm just trying to keep things personal. And I'm like, you could go to their Instagram, it's everything on there. And I'm like, it's not about us wanting to be a part or be in your business. This is something that you put out. This is something that's your career, your limelight. And you are perceived on ways sometimes of how you put yourself out there. So the divorce, the marriage, all of the kids, like, you put that out there. So we want to know more. We want to know how the divorce settlement is happening. We want to know who get what. Because you put out the whole marriage in the whole breakup. So we like, what's going to happen with the rest? And then we left Ghost. Like, no, don't leave us on Ghost or Red.
But like any relationship, you train me how to treat you. You've trained me to want you to be invested, to be there. Like, that's what you've trained me to do.
Yeah.
So either don't train me to be that way, or shut up. Show me. Granny at the house. Hey, Granny. Like,
we all family now.
Right. And then they be having things like that. Oh, this is the such and such family. This is the such and such mafia. And now it's, I want privacy.
Right. Yeah.
No, we family and mafia. That you can give everybody else. I don't know who else you gonna keep privacy, but we family. Okay. I done watched you deliver whole people. We is family. Okay.
I know that we mentioned growing up and in that childhood atmosphere, mom and dad come in the living room, bust a move, X, Y, and Z. Luckily, today is Sunday, and we will be blessed with the new verses. So, I don't want to say we playing either or, but who we have, Gladys Knight versus Patti LaBelle. And the last verses that we did see with Brandy and Monica, I really felt like it was a celebration of music and sisterhood with everything that came with it, with the pettiness. I still felt like it was just a celebration. So tonight, I feel like we are going to be blessed to even be a part of an experience. But who are you looking forward to in this verses tonight?
Patty. I love Patty. She be flying, kicking off shoes.
She do be flying. I mean, I'm gonna go with Gladys. You know what I'm saying? That's my lady. So I'm looking forward to both of them, honestly, because growing up, I've heard both of their music. Yeah. My mom and all of them got together, and that's the songs you played or whatever. But so I can't really say I'm going for either one. I'm just here to have a good time.
It's phenomenal music. It's phenomenal music. Like, it's so funny because this one's gonna be like, oh, we used to clean the house to this song.
Right.
She had a new attitude. Like,
the only thing,
it's nostalgia. It's not even like better or worse, because even though they're from the same time, they're just like so different. Like, it's not even a either or. It's a
mood. It's a mood. What you
Yeah. The only thing I'm gonna say is that I'm here for both, but Patty with her dramatics, I just want to see if she's gonna come with some extra sauce or some extra pies for us. But I know that it starts like 8 o'clock. I'm like, please don't go to 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
They'd even allow it.
Dion said they make that Sunday house cleaning music. Exactly.
If you wake up on Sunday and you smell pine oil and all that other, just get ready.
And you feel a breeze. Why is it so cold? Oh, because the windows open.
Pots banging in the kitchen. You're like, oh, it's time to get up. Yeah, I can't choose. I can't choose. But when I think of like the music, I feel like I might know more Patty songs.
Yeah.
And that's why Patty kept going throughout the years. And I think Gladys paused at some point. But I mean, the hits are the hits, and that, like we always say, the culture wins.
Period.
The culture wins. So I'm here for it.
The great thing about it is I don't know if y'all used to watch The Masked Singer, but Gladys was on there one season, and like her voice ain't went nowhere. Like she's fire still. Like she snatched. Like let's pause for a minute to talk about that. Like she's super. Like, if I got to get an older lady body, that's what I want.
Okay.
Well, definitely be tuned into that as the Herview podcast is going on. But thank you guys so much for joining us on this Sunday. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google, YouTube, Spotify, etc. All you need to do is type in Herview podcast. You'll find any one of us. So please join us next week, because we got next week, ladies.
It's his view.
It's his view.
It's gonna be you.
What we gonna be talking about?
We got some fellas in the building.
Yeah. So please make sure you definitely turn into that. I already feel like I'm about to come like, what's up, y'all? Because last his view, with some perspectives flying here and there, but everything is all love. So we'll see you guys next Sunday. Please like, subscribe, and comment on any video or post, and we greatly appreciate it. So see you next Sunday.
Bye.
Thank y'all for tuning in. If you like what you heard, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, click that notification bell so you will be notified at every time we drop a new post for you. Thanks for tuning in to Herview. Bye.